Have had a very bizarre beginning to the trading day today, with Tesla joining the Mag 7 in a huge sell-off. Tesla dropping big despite the really big news about the 4680 production hitting a new milestone. We'll get into all of that in a minute. It does look like maybe the Nasdaq and the tech sector is moving maybe back in the right direction. Well, higher again, but we'll check all that later. So the ramp seems to be on target now with regard to the 4680 and could show Tesla hitting the planned 100 gigawatt run rate by the end of the year, as Elon had mentioned at one point. That 100 gigawatt run rate would result in like $1 billion plus per quarter of IRA credits. This could mean that we could also be going to the 200 gigawatt run rate, and that might be the target for 2025, although it might not take all of 2025 to get there. So it could be looking at more than 25 gigawatt hours per quarter just out of Austin. It also means plans for the 500 gigawatt facility in Sparks could move forward, and also 100 gigawatt hours in Shanghai and Berlin. Now, of course, the Shanghai and Berlin won't give us those IRA credits, but the 500 gigawatts in Sparks certainly would. You put that together, 700 gigawatts times 45, looks like $30 billion a year if the Fed doesn't decide, if the government doesn't decide to change those rules. Well, the potential for IRA savings are well over $1 billion per quarter in 2025. I don't think investors have a clue about that. I don't think they're even beginning to think about that, especially when we look at the sell-off this morning. After that was the only significant news during the weekend. Yeah, no real news to impact the tech sector either. It could be rotation taking place this morning, but it seems pretty heavy for that. Could be just a lot of activity from options traders and other big boys that had business to do this morning that we'll never truly understand. We are anticipating, of course, a drop in interest rates on Wednesday, which would help the Dow more than the Nasdaq. Maybe. Depends on which part of the Nasdaq, which part of the Dow. But in general, people might think that these rate cuts are going to help smaller and medium-sized businesses more than big businesses. The Mag 7 all have massive cash balances, including Tesla at over 30 billion in cash, which would not earn as much interest, but I don't know that that's going to be significant. Anyway, this we could be looking at a sell-off just because there was so many gains last week. Barron's certainly was not of much help this morning, but there was interesting parts to this article. It says there isn't a lot of Tesla-specific news early on Monday. I don't know. hitting the 20% level on the 4680 line seemed pretty important to me, but there was one weekend tidbit. The company announced that it manufactures Tesla's 100 millionth 4680 battery cell. And these are the Tesla's larger. We all know that. Tesla announced the accomplishment on X with a picture of Tesla's humanoid labor-saving robot Optimus holding a battery cells. Videos of Optimus sorting batteries are circulating on X and have been for months. This has the potential to energize investors. I get it. Oh, investors a little. Tesla uses artificial intelligence-based computing to train robots the company hopes to use in factories. Deutsche Bank analyst Edison Yu believes Tesla is becoming a leader in AI. I'm sorry. Okay. He rates Tesla stock a buy with a $295 price target. The robot opportunity accounts for $22 of that target. It should be like $250 of that target. As for the market, investors are waiting for the Fed to make a decision on short-term interest rates on Wednesday. Traders expect a 25 basis point cut, maybe a 50 basis point cut. And a few like me think that we may be considered a surprise. And believe me, my idea that it might be zero interest rate cut on Wednesday is about maybe a 10% chance, maybe a 25% chance it's 50, and the rest, whatever is left of that, is the 25, which is my main case. Traders expect that 25 or 50 basis point cut Lower rates can help car companies. Most cars are bought with financing, and lower rates help monthly payments. Remember that the shorter term treasuries are going to impact the cost of borrowing more than what the Fed does in terms of the Fed rate. A little further down the road, investors are waiting for Tesla's Robotaxi Day on October 10, when the company is expected to unveil one such vehicle and give an indication of what a Tesla-built autonomous cab service when it could begin. Tesla also uses AI-based computing to train its self-driving cars, no duh. The event will surely move, by the way, they also use AI to run their factories, guys. That event will surely move the stock. Where it goes after, though, tough to say. Future fund active exchange trader Gary Black ran a poll on X asking his 440,000 plus followers when they believe this will happen. Roughly 50% believe Tesla stock will go up, and about 50% believe it will go down after the event on 10/10. Coming into Monday's trading, Tesla stock was down about 7% year to date, trailing the S&P 500 by 25 percentage points. Failing EV sales have weighed on investor sentiment. Tesla shipped about 830. We know all that. All right. So it turns out Tesla is showing the Semi at the 2024 IAA Transportation Trade Show in Germany. They're showing it, but they're not only just showing it. The booth had the Semi. They had a supercharger in the booth, but they also have a second Semi there, and they're letting the folks drive the Semi. I guess you have to probably have a license for that. Gary Black says, my view, Tesla is likely to run up into the 10/10 unveil and then sell in the news after the unveil. That has been the pattern of nearly every Tesla event since he started founding the company in 2018. I think there's a difference. There's a difference between the shows which are designed to inspire people to come to work for Tesla and the shows which are truly unveils. And on some of the unveils, there's been a positive move after the event. And so that's how I would watch this. It could be a big uptick after the event if the news is substantial and quantifiable. Tesla remained, number two, Gary says, Tesla remained in the recent 200 to 250 trading range as continued reductions in forward earnings estimates offset optimism about the company's unveil. In a poll among 7,000 respondents on X over the weekend, 41% said they expect Tesla stock to rise by more than 5% after the 10/10 event. 52% expected it to fall. And then in a separate poll, 34% expect first deployments of Tesla robotaxis at least 2 years away. Tesla will post third quarter production and deliveries October 2nd. Wall Street is expecting the resumption of year-over-year delivery growth, which deliveries of 460 about what is expected. Of course, we've got AJ coming in at like 480 something. So that's a big number higher. From Tezarnik, I've never seen this guy before. I mean, I've never responded to anything he said before. TSARNICK. Tezarnik. Anyway, Larry Ellison says Oracle is building nuclear reactors to power acres of GPU clusters, and it will cost companies $100 billion. It seems likely that Tesla he's thinking that companies are going to spend $100 billion on new GPUs in the next years, and then that's the story. I think that story might have gotten broken up. I'm very sorry. I think there was more to that story, but Larry Ellison talking about Oracle building massive amounts. We talked about that over the weekend. Then it seems likely to me that Tesla will earn at least $5 billion in 2025 from IRA credits. In addition, they will also earn credits from that new CATL production line in Reno and also on the split with Panasonic. If the Congress doesn't take this away, this could turn out to be, as I've talked about for a year now, this could turn out to be extremely big money. This is Randy Kirk. Did you know this is Randy Kirk? If you don't know that it's Randy Kirk, then you must be new. And if you're new, you need to remember to hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button. That's always a good thing. We're getting up closer, I think, to 25,000 now on the subscriber thing. And then we could also really like it if you would hit go on down into the description and join up with Patreon. Now, later on today, we're going to have Brian White on as usual. Really good show. Watch for that one. And then Larry Goldberg will help me talk about the good news. And I think Tesla will end up in the green today, quite frankly. Okay, this is breaking news. U.S. construction lending for homes dropped 10% year over year to $92 billion in Q2, the largest decline in over 10 years. This marked the fifth consecutive quarterly decline in construction lending for this sector. Oh, this is Carbasi. Meanwhile, U.S. housing starts fell 16% year over year to 1.24 million. We talked about this last week. Housing market cracks are becoming more evident, but of course, this is going to turn around. It's already beginning to turn around. We'll see that tomorrow, I'm sure, with some of the news that'll come out tomorrow. Now, this is the Empire State Business Survey. What's happening in New York with regard to manufacturing? Business activity grew in New York State for the first time in nearly a year, according to firms in responding to the Empire State Manufacturing Survey. This is really good news. The headline General Business Conditions Index rose 16 points to 11.5 after being down last month and being down almost every month, like I said, for a year. New orders climbed, shipments grew significantly, delivery times and supply availability were steady, and inventories leveled off. Labor market conditions remain soft, with employment continuing to contract modestly and average work week holding steady. The pace of input and selling price increases were little changed. Firms grew more optimistic that conditions would improve in the month ahead, although the capital spending index dropped. First of all, manufacturing activity expanded in New York State for the first time since November of last year. According to the September survey, the General Business Conditions Index rose 16 points to 11.5. The New Orders Index climbed 17 points to 9.4, a multi-year high, pointing to a modest increase in orders, while the Shipments Index rose 18 points to 17.9. You know, this is pretty crazy big changes for 1 month. I'm not satisfied this is 100% right. The inventories index rose 11 points to 0, indicating that inventories were level after declining the prior 2 months. The delivery index times rose up to negative 1.1, suggesting that delivery times were little changed, and supply availability came in at negative 2.1. Supply availability was slightly lower. Price increases. The index for number of employees, The index for number of employees came in at negative 5.7, pointing to another month of modest employment reduction. That would be normal and expected until they get a couple of 3 months of this. After a steep drop last month, the average work week index recovered to 2.9, signaling a slight increase in hours worked. Firms grew more optimistic that conditions would improve in the month ahead. The index for future business activity moved up 8 points to 30.6. Man, this is a really good report. I'm really cautious. I'm cautious about this report. All right. And we have this from Forbes. Jamie Dimon says, I would say the worst outcome is stagflation with a recession and higher inflation. I wouldn't take it off the table. He said this at a council meeting of institutional investors in New York. Stagflation, of course, we know what that is. According to Dimon, inflationary forces such as higher deficits that add to the growing U.S. debt of $35 trillion and increased infrastructure spending will pile pressure on the U.S. economy. And we saw that wage inflation is still happening. These are all inflationary, basically in the short run, the next couple of years, Dimon said. So it's hard to look at it and say, well, no, we're out of the woods. He says, I don't think so. Dimon's inflation warning comes after Elon Musk shared a $36 trillion by the end of 2024 warning over the spiraling interest payments on the huge national debt. Well, so in addition to that, the Bitcoin price has swung wildly over the last month as market braces for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates for the first time. The key focus for investors this week is the scale of the interest rate cuts, according to Russ Mould, investment director at AJ Bell. A quarterly percentage point would be seen as the Fed starting a slowly path to easing monetary policy in light of concerns about the weaker jobs market. However, traders are increasingly focused on a bigger cut with a 59% probability right now of a half percentage point reduction. So while the Fed is widely expected to cut interest rates when officials gather for the two-day policy meeting on Wednesday, weaker than expected job U.S. data has fueled fears that the Federal Reserve has waited too long to cut interest rates and could have tipped the economy into recession. Still my position. There have been suggestions that the Fed has been too slow to act. The quote is that they've been too slow to act, but it treads a fine line with regards to playing catch up and going too hard with rate cuts. A 0.5 percentage point cut would show it is serious about making things easier, the quote goes on, for consumers and businesses in the hope they would spend more money. But the consumer's out of money. They don't have any cash. It doesn't matter. However, some investors might take such a move to be a signal the Fed is really worried about the state of the economy. We've said that over and over again. Therefore, it's hard to predict with confidence how the market will react if the Fed does push through to a 0.5 percentage cut. All right, let's take a look at where the markets are. It started out really crazy this morning. Let's see where we are, however, at this point. We will start, as always, with Tesla, which was down as much as like 7 this morning. It's down now 3.43. The Nasdaq, which was down a lot more, is only down 128 at this point. And the Dow is up 182, and it was up a lot more. So everything's kind of moderating to the middle right now. S&P down 520. Talk about moderating to the middle. Okay, the rest of the Mag 7, Apple down 6, almost 3%. Google neutral. Amazon up 1%. 202. Meta up. I'm sorry, down. Did I say Amazon was up? It was down a full percentage point. Meta down, not a full percentage point. Microsoft up a little. NVIDIA down over almost 2 percentage points. So lots and lots of mixed activity going on in the Mag 7. And then we've got the Cathie Woods also mixed, but all fairly narrowly. Only CRISPR down $1.50. Okay, percentage-wise, we have got the Dow down, Dow up 0.36. We've got the Nasdaq down 0.73, S&P down 0.17, and Tesla down 1.53, which is pretty normal in comparison to the Nasdaq. But Apple down 2.76. Holy mackerel, something going on there. All right, let's go ahead and look at the bonds. They are now flat, very flat. 10-year, 0.2% up. 2-year, 0.6% down. But we continue to see that being reinverted in a more proper form. The 2-month down 0.2% at 5.022 though. So you're still looking at 140 basis points there, almost. Not quite, but almost. 10-year though at 3.651. It's up. It's certainly a number that makes most people happy as we go back to low interest rates. Not a bad thing at all. Okay, let's look at the rest here. We've got oil right now up 1.74 this morning. Brent up 1.47. Now, there was a lot of activity in the Middle East over the weekend with who was it shot a missile into Israel? Israel saying they were going to have a big response to that. The Houthis, I think, active again. So oil up this morning fairly strongly. Texas Intermediate back over 70. But only a less than $3 difference between Texas and Brent, which typically would be more if you're looking at Middle East action. Anyway, interesting. Natural gas up 1.74 this morning, 2.345. You got gold down a little tiny bit, right about where we left it on Friday at 2,607. Silver up 0.23, 31,145, continuing to climb. Copper at 430, continuing to climb, also up 1.62%. The dollar down a little, 0.24 against the yen, up strongly, 0.45 up against the euro. And then the Bitcoin, 2,000 down this morning, 57,884. Directionally, you might think that means it's going to go back and test the 54, 55 area. I don't know. I'm just saying that in terms of what you commonly see, and kind of my theory that, what goes up must come down and vice versa. But right now, it looks like we might be going back under 55 again. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know about Bitcoin. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to tell you about? Oh, yeah. So what do I think is going to happen this week? Well, first of all, I do think that Tesla is going to end up in the green today. It continues to move up and down a lot. It's at 3.54 right now, down for the day. But with the action that I'm looking at right now, I'd say it ends in the green. I think Tesla will continue, as I've said before, to continue to move up towards the green as we get closer and closer to 1010. I think we'll get to 265. And then I think the meeting is going to be great. I think it's going to be amazing, but I am an optimist. And I think after the meeting, we will see continued positivity with the stock moving up to probably to all-time highs, certainly to 300 by the end of the year. And then if Robotaxi does begin, even if you still have a driver in the seat, if they put the app into action and people can catch a Robotaxi, I think we go back to all-time highs. Certainly, if we continue to see great moves, better performance on the part of FSD, and of course, if it becomes unsupervised, that would definitely take us back to the 410 range. Okay, what do we got for later today? Obviously, you got Larry White. Did I say Larry White? We got Brian White in about 4 hours, and then we got Larry Goldberg, who will be with us for the good news. That will be, of course, right around 4 o'clock, something like that, 4:30 California time. And then let's see. Oh, yeah, this last weekend, I did do a deal on the 4680 breakthrough. That was, I think, on Saturday afternoon. You want to go take a look at that one. That one got, I think, over 7,000 views. Because why? Because it's important. Because it's the most important thing that happened over the weekend. Maybe the most important thing that's happened this month. Maybe the most important thing that's happened this quarter. I believe that the 4680 is like the number 3 item in Tesla's future. Optimus is obviously number 1. Robotaxi is obviously number 2. FSD is obviously number 3. I think 4680 is number 4, because we could be looking at Tesla becoming the number 1 maker of these kind of batteries in the world. Maybe if CATL could stay ahead, but even if they're number 2, that would be pretty significant. Okay, that's all I got for you right now. Let me say adieu for the time being. See you all later. Oh yeah, join Patreon. Thank you for the 1 joiner this weekend. We'd like to see a lot more. It's been great talking to you.